Hey everybody, Jamie Cinq-Mars here, and welcome to Mind Over Matter. I'm very happy to be with you today, and excited to be a part of this journey of success that you're going to be on. The topic today that I wanted to talk about was, are you creating walls, or are you creating a future? Are you building the walls that are holding you back, or are you building the future that you're looking for? The topic that I wanted to talk about today was literally born out of a conversation in a session I was having with a student of mine, and I couldn't help but think they can't be the only person that goes through this, because I even saw some of the similar things in myself, many years ago when I was trying to figure all this stuff out. So I thought, what a better place to start with this Mind Over Matter session, and is to talk about that, because it's probably going on more often than you'd think, because most people won't ask the questions. Luckily, with the student that I'm working with, they are comfortable enough to ask questions with no concern, fear of being made to feel stupid or any of those things. They just they ask the questions. So we just tried to reverse the process, and instead of ask the question first, we work on some skills to solution-based thinking, to try and find the answer before you have to ask the question. That's all. I'd also like to make note of the Fast Start training that's going to be going on tomorrow at 9 a.m. I believe Steven Sadler will be running that, so let's not forget about that. Very important part of the puzzle as well. Thanks to Alec and Steven for the Monday night call, which was a great call too. So without further ado, we'll just dive right into this concept, and it came from the question that I asked was, do the walls slow you down and stop you, or create an opportunity for learning? That was kind of the phrase that came to my mind when I got through this experience with the student that I was teaching, and I asked myself, you know what, I'm going to take a little sip of my coffee here because I'm very dry. Coffee's good. Just so you know, guys, I'm going to keep this session in this regular weekly mindset training into a relatively lighthearted. So we're not going to get too crazy serious, and but the topics we're going to be talking about are very serious, but at the same time we can address them, and we can talk about them in a much less serious way. So the question I sort of posed to myself, and then thus to you, is, do the walls that you have created slow you down or stop you? No, let me rephrase that, sorry. Do the walls you've created slow you down and stop you, or create an opportunity for learning? That's kind of what, that's where it was. And when I say the walls, I'm not talking about walls from years of from when you were a childhood. I'm talking about the walls that are erected almost immediately when it comes to learning a new skill. And as you all know, when you're working online, I know for myself, when I was working online, it became very daunting to learn all these new things and new tasks, and the internet's always changing and evolving. So you have to come to terms with the fact that it's moving much faster than you're able to keep up with. So the more you can focus on the skill that you want to learn, and the better you become at it, the more confident you'll become, the more confident you'll be. Now, the experience I had with my student was simply this. There was a piece of software that I had suggested that she try, and she was using the software and just tinkering with it, trying to figure it out. I didn't give her a whole lot of feedback and guidance on how to use the software. she was confident enough to try and work through it. It's pretty straightforward software. So I got a message from her that she was having a difficult time because the software was loading, and it was and it wasn't really getting past that loading stage, which I wasn't quite sure what that meant, because I was trying to remember for my own use of the software, because I use the software myself. So I wasn't suggesting a piece of software that I don't personally use. So I use it just about every day, if not every day. So I'm very familiar with it, but the way she was describing her problem, I wasn't 100% familiar with what she was seeing. So we connected, and she was going to show me her screen, but as she was talking about it a little bit more, and we're having a conversation, it dawned on me that when you first log on to this software, the first thing that it actually does is it puts up a gray screen, and it says loading ... Now, loading ... essentially says loading indefinitely. That's what the ... means, right? And the whole point being is that it will eventually stop loading. We just don't know when. Now, I guess it's probably important to tell you that the software that she's using, that we're talking about, is a screen capture software so that you can do videos. Because of course, with the my video marketing background and my very strong opinions on using video marketing, it's one of the things that I teach as often as I can and promote extensively. So the software, I mean, so that's just no secret. It's Screencast-O-Matic. I mean, that's what it is. So we had. So one of the first things it does is it says it's loading, and what it's generally loading is the videos that you've produced thus far. But she hadn't produced any videos, so it just sat there at the loading phase. The part of the equation that is important here is that just where it says loading ... it's off to the left, right? And then where it says record is up in the top right. So way over here in the top right hand corner it says record, and then way over here, I'm trying to get my hands on the screen, right over here it says loading. So in this process by which she was learning a new skill and learning a new piece of software, the walls came up very quickly. And what the walls create, let's look at it like this. Here's the walls. What do we get when we create two walls right here? We get tunnel vision, right? So our focus becomes very, very, very fine. And as you get more and more frustrated, more and more nervous, and more, they get narrower. These walls just sort of build in around. They're not built up over here and making, they're right in here so that you can't see anything else but the problem at hand. And that's when solution-based thinking really comes into play. And those walls may be part of why your process might be slower than the next person. So when I asked her, I said, have you checked the entire page for options? Because I think I know where you're at without seeing your screen. And I said, let's take a look in the top right-hand corner. So then she went and looked to the top right-hand corner, and she told me what was there. But the wall of this page's loading they had been built so strong, because I guess it was probably a day or so that she was working on this, and her tunnel vision was so tight that she had got to the point where the only thing she could really see was loading. And it meant to her that you cannot proceed until this is done. So, which is fair. And one of the things that I want to make very, very clear, because I made some notes about this whole concept, was what she did wasn't wrong, and it's not abnormal, and it's not something that I haven't done myself. I don't know how many times I've been wandering around a web page, and for the life of me can't find what I'm looking for, and then you ask somebody, and boom, they say, hey, there it is. But in this case, it was, even though I pointed it out, it still didn't. That's when it triggered in my mind that there's something more here, because even when I pointed it out, it still didn't. It didn't wake up the ability to move forward. I didn't knock the wall down. I just sort of, poked a little hole in it so she could see that. But then the focus came back, right? So, needless to say, I said, well, what would happen if you click that record button? She goes, I'm not sure. I said, well, click it. Let's see. So she clicked it, and sure enough, the box came up that you need to frame your screencast. And naturally, she was a little sheepish about it, and I, I told her, I said, don't worry about it. It's what I'm seeing here, and I told her I was going to write this down, and I was going to be, and I told her I was going to talk about it today because I thought it was a valuable lesson. So it was, it really struck me as an important component to the learning process. For some of you, the stuff that you hear through the global online franchise is going to be completely different language to you. It's going to be something like you've never heard before. It's going to be stuff that you wonder, I don't know how to do any of this. Perfect. Now we're going to learn a new skill. Learning a new skill is the skills plus action equals success. You've probably heard that equation before. If not, write it down. Skills plus action equals success. So if you haven't got a skill, then you can't take action because you don't have a skill. Therefore, you can't get the end result. So I figured that we were probably in a position where, and one of the things that we worked on was the idea that when you're faced with these problems, we'll call them, where you feel like you can't move forward, it's time to take a step back and sort of break down what we're looking at, break down what we see, break down what our options are. That's what I'm looking to say there. Break down what our options are, because at that point you're able to. I don't want to use the word analyze because it's you're not really analyzing, you're troubleshooting. That's a better word. So you're taking piece by piece. I mean, I try to draw from my IT background when I used to work in the IT industry. Very, I would never go back. Let's put it that way. It's not something, not my cup of tea. That's for darn sure. But one of the skills that I did get out of working in the IT industry, and one of the skills that I still carry with me many years later, is my ability to troubleshoot and find solutions and solution-based self-thinking. Because I like to believe in the philosophy there are no problems, there are only solutions. Okay, so every time you're faced with a roadblock, does the little speed bump become a roadblock? Does the speed bump become a mountain? Does it become a wall? Does it end up completely blocking your vision? Or is it just a little speed bump that you have to figure out how to get over, around? When these walls crop up, and they will for everybody. They still do for me. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm Superman and I never come across any problems or nothing ever stops me. No, that's not true. Lots of just yesterday I was having an issue. I was trying to make a video, and I just couldn't grasp the concept. And in frustration, I was just not willing to. My brain was just not willing to. I'd created a big wall. I'd said, okay, this can't be done. I can't figure it out. I don't know. So I had to take a step back, and I had to say, okay, just what are we trying to accomplish? Let's look at the options here, because the answer's there. It's somewhere in there. You just have to take some time. So what I did is I took a step back, went back to the drawing board. The thing in IT that we learned most was don't look for the most obvious solution first and work your way to the least obvious or most difficult. So simplest solution, most difficult solution. The reference I like to use in IT is I have someone give me a call at my desk, their monitor's not working, I got nothing on my screen, I can't see anything, it was working 5 minutes ago, now it doesn't, that kind of thing, and they're in a panic because they've got deadlines, and so rush on over to their desk, and Mr. IT shows up, and you start poking around and doing this, and you're checking all kinds of stuff, and you're looking at the back of the computer, and you're crawling around under the desk, and you're doing all kinds of most difficult solution stuff. Sorry if I look like I'm looking over to the side here, so I'm trying to see my hand on the screen, see if I can actually in the screen for you. But I'm looking for the most difficult solution, right? And what it ends up being, the problem that it ends up being, after 15 minutes of crawling around and doing all kinds of crazy things, and standing on your head in the corner, chanting some sort of voodoo ritual to try and get the monitor to work, but the problem was the connection behind the monitor had slowly loosened itself, either because you're moving the monitor around or you change position, or the end user moves it or whatever. It just slides out just ever so slightly so that it doesn't have a connection anymore. Right? So the question you always ask yourself in IT was, is it plugged in? Someone would say, well, my computer doesn't work. Is it plugged in? That's where you start. You don't start with, well, let's see, maybe we should replace the computer. Maybe we should get you a different one. Here, let me set you up with this while I figure out what the problem is. Is it plugged in? So in the case of Screencast-O-Matic, in the loading page, will that record button work before the loading is done? The answer is yes. And boom, you're off to the races, and you're recording, and you're doing what you need to do. So just know that the solution is always in front of you. It may not be easy to see. If it's not easy to see, it's usually because there's been some walls created. So it might be time for you to take a step back. Because I feel that it's important to note that whenever you create these little walls, and you don't know you're doing it, that's the hardest part, is you don't don't realize you've done it until you're 20 minutes in and frustrated beyond belief. But when those walls appear, you have an option. Smash your hands against the wall, trying to knock it down, or figure out a way to dig underneath it, go around it, go over it, something. Because once you've created the wall, you can't make it disappear. It's there. Now the key is to how do you get around that wall. Okay, the walls aren't going to come down. It's a matter. I mean, a lot of times the analogies are when it comes to breaking through barriers and don't break down, break through. Those kinds of things. I believe that the walls don't necessarily get broken down. Those kinds anyway, especially the ones that are part of the learning process, because those are just walls that are erected immediately. It's just a matter of going around them. You create them as fast as it takes for you to get frustrated. You've built a wall. That's exactly what it is. You feel frustration at any time, you've built a wall because your focus has become. You've redirected all of your energies into one thing. I asked my student this question. I said, let me just sort of play a little scenario about what you've been doing for the last couple of days. And I said, and don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not suggesting that this is wrong. Let me see if I've got a feel for what you've been going through. You open up the software, it said loading. You, in your mind, recognized, key is in the mind. In the mind, you recognize that this is a loading ... indefinitely. So it could take a little while. It might take 2 minutes, it might take 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do something else. So you flip screens so that you can't see the Screencast-O-Matic screen anymore. You start working on something else, because I know that this student of mine does a lot of hard work and has been building her list effectively and consistently for over a year. So lots on her plate, and always this is something new we're working on, right? And then when you were working on whatever you're working on for a couple of minutes, you'd flip back to the screen where Screencast-O-Matic was, and immediately focus your attention and divert your eyes directly to where it says loading. And of course, naturally, it still said loading, so you quickly flip back to the other screen you were working on. Right? So then you keep working, flip back to Screencast. Where do your eyes go? Directly to where it says loading. It still says loading. So you flip again. So you did that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, dozen times. And then at some point, you decided you were going to give me a call. Her only response to that was, do you have a camera set up in my office? So naturally, it was something, because I've done the same thing. Maybe not with Screencast, but I've done the same thing with other products and other software that I've been working with. Is where you flip back and forth, expecting a different result, but yet I haven't done anything different. I haven't changed anything, right? And that that leads us to the same story, and this is probably where I'll finish it off. It leads us back to the age-old story, and I don't know if you've heard it before. You may have, you may not have. I'm not sure, but it's the story of the fly, right? and you have a fly who, and all of us have seen this happening in the world around us. There's a fly, making an attempt, a valiant attempt, to get outside. It doesn't want to be inside anymore. It wants to be outside. So it sees the outside, and it flies like crazy right for the window. Boom! Right into the window it goes. Well, what does it do? It just keeps bouncing and smashing its head against that window. Just keeps doing it. Then it'll pause on the little edge of the top of the window frame for a little bit. Then go at it again. Then pause. So essentially, its goal is to get outside. Its methods by which it's using to do that are very focused. All of its energies are focused there. Every last ounce. The fact, though, is that 5 feet over to the right or to the left, take your pick, or across the room, doesn't matter, there's an open door. And that open door actually leads directly outside, fly right through, outside, live on your regular fly life, however, whatever it is you need to do in the world of flies. But because the fly is so focused, because it has focused so much of its energies and so intently on the wrong action, its destiny is to die there on the windowsill, never to find success. Its goals were simple. They weren't looking for, some sort of grandiose success story. They just want to get outside. My student just wanted to record her screen. That's all she wanted to do. Very simple. Simple goal. But her focus was so laser focused, it was so tight that loading indefinitely means I cannot proceed until it's done. When 4 or 5 inches, maybe 10 inches to the left, or to the right, sorry, there was a big blue button that said record. So now, naturally, of course, her success wasn't hinging on her success to get screencasts working was hinging on finding that blue button. She certainly wasn't going to die there on the windowsill, so to speak. But the similarities of the two stories definitely marry well. That if you focus your energies so intently on the wrong action, and you don't recognize that you've created a little bit of a wall, and you don't try to find your way around that wall, your success will be stalled. And in some cases, because some of you will be newer to this whole process, in some cases that stall will be enough to kill your momentum and kill your ability to move forward. And thus your ability to have success online, it will essentially die on the windowsill. And I'm not suggesting that you can't overcome this. That's not it at all. Feel free to reach out to your teammates, your the faculty, the people that are part of the global online franchise. I mean, we have the Facebook group. There's so many options to get extra help. Somebody will have brought you here to this to this franchise opportunity. Somebody will have been a part of that process and will have an invested interest in helping you have success. So solution-based thinking needs to come from inside. It needs to come from your willingness to want to find the answer and willingness to break down the information in front of you and just pause on the windowsill and look around the room and say, oh crap, there's an open door right over there. I'm just going to go fly over there and go out. The option's there. That fly had the option. It didn't need somebody to sort of scoop it up off the windowsill, walk over to the door and open their hands and let them go. It didn't need that, in theory. Now, I'd like to think that you, my students and anybody else who's trying to, you know, find a solution to their problem has a much bigger mind than a fly. And with that, I will leave you guys and hope you have an awesome day, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. Take care, guys. Bye.